Hello, I'm Corelli. Welcome to my channel. Я сасиме Катерина Corelli, καλωσήρθες στο κανάλι μου. I like to say it in Greek nowadays, because I actually can say something in Greek, which is wonderful, I think. And kind of invigorating. I find it invigorating, that's the word that I was looking for. So today I'm painting this will be the cover art for the next single, called Turquoise Lazuli Courtyard. Frankly, I don't know when am I going to release this single. I've dropped Arena Proving Grounds on the 22nd of June. And initially I thought that I'm going to drop the next single in a month, exactly, on July 22nd. And then I realized that I don't want to rush it, really. And that's why I'm saying I don't know when am I going to drop this next single. I want a really good idea. I have good ideas, but I want to have like a really great idea for this song. So I'm holding back my horses a little bit, so to speak, taking my time. And I started with painting the scene, and I'm painting this painting without any reference at all. This is all in its entirety from imagination. Or rather, it's kind of loosely based on what I've seen in the dream. And so I'm taking that and then expanding on that and trying to imagine that corner of the city juxtaposed against this huge, vast mountain range and plateau, and going from there. So this is a location that probably doesn't exist anywhere except for my own imagination. It might look like something, but I don't know. Now this is the kind of architecture that I've seen in that dream, and this is kind of what it felt like. I gotta say that this was both a fun painting to paint, and it was also pretty challenging. First of all, the painting is pretty large. And second of all, I first thought that I would paint just a more or less generic landscape, but then when I was more or less done with the background, as I was moving closer and closer to the foreground, I started to realize that what I'm really trying to capture, I'm trying to capture a huge, vast landscape, and I have to kind of warp the perspective, really, so that we can see alongside this mountain plateau into the distance, far, far away. But then this part of the city, this courtyard within the walls, I don't know how about you, but to me it almost feels like it's tilted downwards, all of it. And, or the plateau and the mountain in the back, they're raised somehow. I don't know. I think everybody will see whatever they want to see. It's a matter of perception. But I gotta say I'm really satisfied with one thing, and that is that I started with just a pencil sketch, and then I brought it all the way to a finished painting. It feels really good to paint something almost entirely from imagination. I'm saying almost entirely because it's kind of based on a dream anyways, but okay, you can probably say from imagination. So the single itself, I don't exactly know when am I going to release this. I don't want to rush myself. I don't really want to rush myself, because this Sun City album is very different from everything that I've written before. Back 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I first had the idea for this album, when I saw the dream back in 2013, I thought that I will just, sometime in the future, I will approach this album and it's going to be just kind of a one-off story. And that's it. And also in 2013, I lost my singing voice. I couldn't sing. So, and it dragged on and on for years, for roughly 7 years. And around 2018, I decided that while I'm waiting for my voice to come back, which I wasn't, by the way, just sitting and waiting for it to come back, I was actually trying to get it back. I decided that I'll just go on this long quest and remix and remake and re-record all the old music that I had, so that by the time I get my voice back, I will be ready to let go of everything old and fully go into everything new. That was my mindset. But 10 years ago or 11 years ago, I really had no idea what the future is going to look like. I could not anticipate that I'm going to be a whole half a world away from where I was, that I would be doing what I'm doing, that I would actually have my voice recovered, that I would be quite a different person, that I would change so dramatically. I could not anticipate that. And so, at conception, back in 2014, I wrote and recorded, actually, 2 or 3 demos. 2, 3, or 4 demos. And I was kind of keeping it on the back burner, but I wanted to write, back then, I wanted to write something new. And the tracks were Run, Through the Blue Gates, Sun City, Reaper, and there was another one, Savior Inside. These tracks were written, the music was written back in 2014, but it had no lyrics. So they were laying there literally for years. And I was kind of, not really going into that album because I didn't have my voice back. And I've embarked on this long, long journey of remixing and publishing my older works. And so I felt like I really need to first let go of all the old stuff, and then I can fully immerse myself in the new stuff. And so back in 2014 at conception, I was thinking of Sun City, and then back then I wanted to call it Sunset City. But now it's called Sun City. I thought that it would be just one of those large albums, maybe like Overcome. Or maybe something heavy, like Killed Alive, but with some storytelling. But when I was finally done with all my older music, when I released the last, what was that? Gehenna Arcanum, released in 2024. That was the last of its kind album. This was the last time that I re-recorded some of my older music. I don't actually think that I'm going to do any of that again. After that, I was facing a lot of change, and I realized that I've changed a lot. I myself have changed, and even in the past 2 years, I've changed dramatically, perhaps even more than in the past 10 years. It was a radical change. And by the time I actually got to the first track of Sun City, which was Giants, exactly a year ago, I was sitting here in my office with the guitar and composing completely new music, writing completely new lyrics, while still kind of hinging the story on a dream that I've seen back in 2013. I realized that I can't put everything that I can and will do now into an old box from 2013. It's not how it's going to work, really. Like, it's really cool that I had that amazing dream, which I'm going to make into... There's going to be a whole lot of paintings associated with Sun City. It's a story, so I will make it into a book. I'll go beyond that. I will explore different ways to tell this story, because it's a fascinating story. It's a beautiful story. But I realized, roughly a year ago, I started to realize that it should be a story that is alive today. And it has to be told in such a way so that it would breathe. Because if it doesn't breathe, if it feels stale, then it's kind of irrelevant, and then there's no point in actually going into this album and trying to do all of this. So this is kind of the backstory for Sun City, but that's this also makes the approach to writing the music for this album so very different. It's not like in the past 15 years, when I would have an idea for a song and I'd be like, okay, let's write this song, and I could release a lot of music because I had a different life. It's not only about quantity or about speed. It's about that now I have an actual real story that I can tell. It's very different from everything else. It's a spiritual journey. It's a spiritual story. And it's not that I never did something like this before. I did something like that on Seraphic Tears, or Overcome is a journey of an album, really. But this is new. And so I don't want to rush it. I could just make it into an album which is interesting and is kind of okay. But I don't want to approach it that way, because I have a sense of that once I am done with the music for this album, for Sun City, I will be moving on to the sequel to Sun City. And it's not going to be one album. It's going to be, roughly 7 albums. Each of the albums will correspond to a chapter from the Iya story. And Iya is directly related to the Sun City story. So it looks like I'm going to have a whole lot of writing to do in the following several years. Musically, lyrically, as far as novels, I guess, and also a whole lot of painting, because I have these stories to tell, and this puts the Sun City album, the singles from which I'm releasing currently, right? It puts it in a whole different light. It's not kind of a standalone thing. It's on a different level. Which means that it requires extra attention, it requires extra nourishment for it to blossom properly, for it to bear fruit. And I just don't want to go with just okay ideas. That's not good enough for me. I want better ideas. I have I have candidates for this track. Turquoise and Lazuli Courtyard, the one that I'm painting the cover art for right here. I have, a good melody for it, and I could go with it, but I feel that it's not good enough. It doesn't necessarily match exactly the feel of that scene. So I'm just taking my time, and that's why I'm saying, I could have just pushed myself and put out another single on the 22nd of July. But would it feel right? Or would it feel rushed? I don't necessarily feel like I want to rush it. I want to make sure that it's intentional and that it exactly feels right. Like the previous single, Arena Proving Grounds. That music is very intentional. That's exactly what I wanted to write. It has all the flavors that I intended to have. It has the right lyrics. It has the right vibe to it. It hits all the checkboxes. And so does the previous track as well. Reaper, and the one before that, Cool Blue Shadows and Rosewater. That was... It took some time. Cool Blue Shadows and Rosewater was a beautiful thing to conceive and a beautiful thing to get birth to. But it took some time, and there was a lot of ideas, a whole lot of ideas, and I got rid of a lot of them. And I left the ones that I really felt were right exactly for that scene and for what was going on there. This painting is pretty large. And pardon the exposure of my phone. I think the next purchase that I really need to make is I need to buy me a photo camera. Something maybe not too fancy, but I need a photo camera because filming with a phone or trying to even take pictures of my paintings with an Android phone it's ridiculous. I end up with warped images, and they're kind of grainy sometimes, even though I'm using the highest resolution possible. It still is a mess. I think I spent something like 10 days on this painting. It took me a while. But it was very satisfying. It was very satisfying because I exactly wanted to capture that particular time of day and the sunlight flowing into this courtyard. I have no idea where is this. Judging by the architecture, I don't know. You make your judgment. You tell me where it could be. There's a little pond or something. Well, it's not very little. But that's something. And I had to redo the water a little bit in the bottom right corner. But yeah, so I don't know. I highly doubted that I'm going to release this single on July 22 because I just don't want to rush this. I think most likely I will release the next single sometime in August. I'm not going to rush myself. But it will happen. Here's the finished painting. There you go. Still, the photo is blurry a little bit. On the edges you can see it. And that's because it's a large painting and apparently my phone can capture it. Alas. I need to get me a good camera. Or at least an average camera, just something that is not a phone. You know. But here we go. Yep. Okay, thank you for being with me. Thank you for your likes and comments. And you'll hear me next time. Ciao.